Kamala Harris tapping Tim Walz as her VP pick with hopes he can appeal to working-class voters with moderate Midwest values. But these comments are already coming back to haunt him.
We saw large, peaceful protests. A society that does not put equity and inclusion at the center of it is certainly going to eventually come to the places where we're at.
This is that catch-22. The more police are there, the more tension it is. The more tension it is, the more chance you have to get things.
Don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Just do the damn work.
He talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory.
Joe Concha is a Fox News contributor and author of the new book, Progressively Worse, Why Today's Democrats Ain't Your Daddy's Donkey, and he joins us now. Joe, given your book title, you are the perfect person to talk to about this. And here is how the New York Times has covered this newly minted Democrat ticket. They say Walz throwing punches at Republicans, making his big entrance with Harris. Another headline, how Kamala Harris trusted her gut and picked Tim Walz. And lastly, Kamala Harris and Coach Walz ease into their new partnership. How's that fair and balanced coverage for you?
Fair and balanced, yes. Your reminder, Carly, that the New York Times has not endorsed a Republican presidential candidate since 1956, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Yeah, that one clip that you played, all of them are bad, but the one with Anderson Cooper, where he says he wants to invest in a ladder company to buy a ladder for all illegal immigrants to enter the country by going over Donald Trump's wall. Remember, he said that back in 2019, right? That one, you know, considering that immigration, illegal immigration, is a top 1 or 2 issue going into this election, I would imagine the Trump campaign already has that campaign ad at the ready to play in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and particularly Arizona, which has been overrun by illegal immigration. Yeah, when you say one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness, I'm sorry, I just don't see how you can, if you're the New York Times, unless you're dishonest, which they are, push this person, Tim Walz, to the middle when he makes comments like that. This is somebody, Carly, who was pushed to eliminate fossil fuels and gas-powered cars from Minnesota. That will cost auto workers thousands of jobs when that comes to fruition. He was the most extreme governor in the country, even more than Gavin Newsom in California when it came to COVID and mask mandates. He supports sex changes for people like my daughter, my 10-year-old, without parental permission, supports open borders to the point, you know, we talked about the ladder company. It supports sanctuary cities, supports free health care for illegals, supports free college for illegals, supports illegals getting driver's licenses, and presided over Minneapolis during the 2020 riots. And I'll leave it here. You remember, whole blocks were burned to the ground, $500 million in damage. The police precinct was burned to the ground. It looked like the Nakatomi Plaza at the end of Die Hard. So, yeah, these are all things that you can't spin away from. But the New York Times, they're going to do their best. That's for sure.
Well, listen, there are a lot of reporters here at Fox News who would love to question Tim Walz on his past statements and positions, and Kamala Harris as well. But she has not held a formal press conference or sit-down interview in the 17 days since she has become the presumptive Democrat nominee. Now, Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, he addressed the media on this, not holding Harris accountable yesterday. Listen here.
I think that you guys have got to do a better job at actually forcing Kamala Harris to answer questions. This is a person who's been the presumptive Democrat nominee for 16 days. She hasn't taken a single real question from a reporter. The American people deserve to get to know the people who want to lead them, and I think it's shameful for Kamala Harris, but increasingly for the media, that she's taking a basement strategy of running from reporters instead of getting in front of them, answering tough questions about her record, and letting the American people know who she is.
Joe, quickly on this basement strategy 2.0.
Oh, completely. Why does J.D. Vance have to tell the media how to do their jobs? We should be hearing this from reporters, from journalists, saying, why can't we have access to the Democratic nominee? As you mentioned, 17 days and counting. Tim Walz will be hit as well. And accountability apparently is absent because the media doesn't seem very interested to actually hear what Kamala Harris has to say when they ask her a question, as opposed to when she's reading a teleprompter, or Tim Walz for that matter. It's shameful, quite frankly, Carly.
Well, we'll be keeping track of the days until she finally does the sit-down interview, which should just be standard for a presidential candidate on day one. Joe, thank you for joining us.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.